something about distinguished new people.
All right, I will call to order the meeting of the Ag and Rural Affairs, September 20th, 2022. Let's start with the approval of minutes of the prior meeting. Are there any additions, corrections, or deletions?
Also move approval.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Why don't we do some quick introductions? Brad, I think you're new here and don't probably know everybody and nobody knows you, so.
All right. Hello, everyone. I am Brad Sipple. I started about a little over a month ago as the community development planner here. And prior to this, I worked for the Wisconsin Department of Transportation for about a little over a year and a half. And then prior to that, I was at the city of Wausau planning up in central Wisconsin. So that's a little bit about my background. I guess I graduated with a master's degree in urban and regional planning from UW-Madison about 7 years ago. So yeah, I'm excited to be here and excited to have my first meeting with you guys. So nice to meet you all.
Nice to meet you as well. I think most of the committee are members of old rural farm families in Fitchburg, other than Randy, who's our council rep. And we invited Jim here tonight also, who's our other council rep, but isn't the designated appointee to the, just to make sure that, he's kind of up to speed and can ask some questions or just have any general discussion about what's going on in the rural area. And that is the first item on the agenda. So, Jim, welcome. Thanks for coming.
And I think there's one member that could not join us tonight, according to the emails.
Right, Scott's not going to be here tonight.
There's another one that you will get to meet later.
Yep. Great to see you, Jim. So we just kind of wanted to see whether there was anything that you might like to talk about, any questions that you might have, or anything else that anyone else would want to bring up to you, because Randy's, aware of what's going on in the rural area, but maybe an opportunity for you to get a little better idea of what some of the issues are.
Absolutely. And, just to start off, thanks for having me. As I have been on the council, I had the opportunity to look at a lot of things. I am somewhat of a systems guy, being on the management team of the Madison Police Department as a captain. We always looked at systems. We always look at budget. And one of the things that I'm looking at now, as far as the city overall, is our budget. I think we're going to come into some lean years coming up due to inflation, due probably a decrease in our net new construction. We've been okay right now because of 4.1% net new construction. We had 2 buildings that were built from Promega, one from Sub-Zero. So that really keeps us where we can, still provide city services at the level we are now. You look at growth, and, I look at growth as also looking at the infrastructure and the ability to manage that growth and still support the services that we have now and improve upon those. And I think right now as we look at, from where we were as a town to right now, we got to start looking at the administration. We got to start looking at our technology. We have to start looking at our infrastructure to make sure that we can still be a Class A city. And again, providing the services that the citizens of Fitchburg are used to. So as I look forward, I kind of looked in the past. I've been asking the city administrator to actually let's look at our personnel and to have a study to see if we have the right number of personnel so that we can continue to do the things that we need to do. And then looking at the future, what do we need to do? Do we need to cut back on some things? Do we need to hire more people? but just to make sure that we are keeping the same amount of services that we have right now. The other thing that I'm following is the, town of Madison coming in. As far as I'm concerned, we don't know how much that's going to cost. We're going to expand the tax base and everything else like that, but what are the things that the town is going to need so that they are brought up to the same standards as the rest of Fitchburg? And I'm kind of cautious on that, and I always have been. Randy and I have spoken about this, that we really need to watch our finances because we don't know what surprises are going to come taking into town. And so I'm kind of keeping an eye on that. I'm always talking to the finance director to see how we are, doing with our finances, not just in the present, because you can't look at just the present. You always got to look at the future. And with inflation and coming up, we really got to watch our budget. Because what I don't want to see happen is, of course, our rural folks not being taxed out of their land, our elderly not being taxed out of their homes. And even when we look at affordable housing, people who are in affordable housing, when taxes go up or, property values go up, the rents go up. And what effect does that have on people, living in affordable housing? So it affects us all. And so that's where I'm at right now as far as looking at things in the city, of Fitchburg. Now I ask you, what do you have for me that I need to be looking forward to?
Well, maybe one follow-up question on that. Do we have any TIDs closing out in the near future that might provide some relief?
Well, as you know, we had a couple that had closed. I would have to really check onto that.
Yeah. Or maybe Randy, too.
I don't know which ones they are offhand,
Right.
numbers are often, but I know TID 6, I'm pretty sure TID 6 is the one that's closing, a potential closing next year.
Right.
So that should create some room that should help.
Well, we would hope so. Misty really be the expert there, or if the money that comes back from it to help out with other additional projects, similar to what the TID closing this year. The mayor brought it before council, and we've all had that. We were all part of that discussion of that additional money, of where it should be spent, if you want to use those words. Mm-hmm.
So that's the additional 1 year that you can do to raise a kind of a fund for affordable housing purposes?
That's my understanding, yes. Yeah.
So that's the plan then for TID 6 when it does close out. So it'll be another year before the city really sees an increase in revenue from that.
Yes, that's how I understand it as well. We would probably have to have Misty here to really as Jim and I both rely on her heavily. We meet, well, I meet with her very often, and I know you're in there as well. So, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, of course, I would have to find this out. One of our TIFs, we may just be breaking even. So, but I'll find out about that one.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I don't know if it's the TID where Seminole and Lacey come together, that particular TID, and I don't recall the number. Right. 10 sticks in my mind, but I don't think that's true.
Right.
But there was some concern because it's all based on the development within that TID, and there is some new manufacturing. I think Sub-Zero is considered manufacturing, and that's where the state comes into play versus the city of Fitchburg. I don't want to say much more. I'm just not that proficient with the TID structures. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Appreciate that.
Are there any TIDs that will be coming in the next year or so coming out of the town of Madison directly?
Coming out of the town of Madison?
Yeah, well, with our annexation?
I don't believe there are any TIDs for the town of Madison, but I'm under the impression that we will probably establish one.
Yeah, but there's none that are coming
From the
that we
town of
would
Madison?
inherited.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Right. I think if we want to get into the TID discussion, we could always ask Misty to join us if that's of importance, maybe the next time around.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably really more of a council issue, but it's good for us to have a general idea
Yeah.
of, what's going on out there.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, so appreciate that, Jim. Any other topics that anyone would like to talk with Jim about?
Jim and Randy also, we have had discussion here, and you guys brought up the tax issue, so let's expand on that just a little bit. A couple years ago, the rural area got hit pretty hard with the tax increases. Specifically, my taxes went up on my farm about 6,000. And that's a big bite when you get the notice in July for the next year. And I know Amy's went up. I know a lot of people, Rogers went up. One of the concerns I have, there is your farmland preservation, the ag land is taxed at a lower rate. But the woodland that's next to it is taxed at half. Or that's only if it qualifies for a program and you get in the program. If you don't get in the program, or if you have, in my case, where you have a 5-acre parcel, our assessing department, that person is no longer with us. But I was told, well, if you want your taxes to lower, you will have to cut the trees down. And they're heritage oaks. So on one hand, some of our committee structure in this city are praising the trees and trying to save the trees, and then other city officials are saying, well, if you want lower taxes, you just got to cut down the trees. So I think you guys need to look at that. And there's no reason why we as a city, I know it's based on state law, but we as a city can't do something to help those small woodland parcels. I believe there's room for some structure there, but it's met with a lot of resistance from the assessing department. So I still am very frustrated with what happened to us in the rural areas. And I know I've had a conversation with Roger. I know his frustration and Amy both, their frustrations. We need to do a better job of that. So if you get a chance to look at something, that'd be something that I appreciate.
Yeah, and I'm one who I'm still asking Amy questions because to me it doesn't seem like an exact science sometimes. So I have been in discussions with Amy and, trying to get a better understanding of how all of this works, even citywide. But I will make an effort to actually do the woodland part, and try to concentrate on that, to ask those questions, see what can be done.
Yeah, I think the thing that's confusing about that is whether the trees are considered to be a crop, in which case it's ag purpose and should qualify, or whether it's considered to be recreational land. And that's where the difference seems to be, and that's what we need to sort out as a city, is how are we going to treat this as recreational land or or the woods as a crop?
I think there was some frustration, and during the annual Ag and Rural event that we had at Four Winds, we invited Amy, and Amy was there, and Mark, I think you expressed the same concern that you're having now with her, and I believe she answered it. But again,
We disagree on that.
you do, and I disagree with it as well. But again, she's interpreting the state statutes, and until the legislature changes, that probably isn't going to change either.
Randy, I understand that.
Yeah.
But it excludes a small parcel, like mine, totally. Is there something we as a city can do? That question was never asked. Is there something we can do to provide some relief for those areas? As the one of the former assessors who is no longer with us said, our job is to extract as much money as we can from you in the rural areas for city purposes.
Yeah, I can't speak to that. I mean,
I heard it with my ears, so
Okay.
I will. It was a very, what term do I want to use? I'm sure, uncomfortable conversations for everyone involved. But the problem with that is I remember too much, and I don't forget. So when something's said to me like that, I'll carry that to my grave.
You're specifically looking at me, and I feel that.
No, I'm not.
I'm another alder here as well.
Yeah, no, I'm not,
So,
I'm not,
yeah,
I'm not Randy. No, I don't
I
mean to pick
want
on
to
you.
clarify.
I'll pick on you quietly behind
That's
the
all right.
scenes.
We know each other for many years, so you can pick on me all you want.
And it's not here.
Yeah.
I just would like
Yeah.
you guys to address that, because I think there's some room we can
Yeah.
do. It's not on the agenda for this meeting, so, but I think there's some things we can probably, do to help, and, because there's what I'm trying to make the point is there's some real scars in the rural area, and if you want to meet with those folks in a different meeting, we can do that. We can facilitate that, because there's some real scars. That's all I got.
I would just like to say something too about that. I'd like to agree with Mark that it should be something that our city should discuss. Because, the amount of, we have woodland, we were insulted by the assessment and the raised taxes on that. And we want to preserve it. We don't want to cut trees down. But yet, at what point do we have to say enough's enough, we can't afford it, especially like when the market's down and you don't want to sell logs? It's like, it's not only, it's more or less, I know it's state mandated, but can our city do something for us to stand up at, not just you alders, but bring it to our council and to say, do you want the rural landowners to take trees out or to sell land and have it all harvested? I mean, that's not what we stand for, is preserving agriculture if it is considered a crop. Anyhow, I'd just like to agree with Mark on that as a city, we should stand up for our rights to preserve the ag land and the property owners, and not just the ag land, but the property owners. That's all I really got to say, but I think it should be a conversation. It should be, not swept under the rug. Just continue to ask questions about what you can do.
Thank you for the feedback.
Amy?
Yes, I just had a quick comment, because I understand like the state statute and, having the conversation with Amy too, because like our farmland also increased, I think over 200%. And so I think like my idea of a potential solution, like how Fitchburg could respond, would be maybe through like applying for a waiver with the state. I mean, that's just an idea, a thought that has come to mind as a potential solution, because I do recognize that we need to comply with state statute or state regulation or whatever it may be that has caused this huge taxation on woodlands. But maybe as a city of Fitchburg, since we value our farmland here, I don't know that any of us are farming tree. I'm not farming trees. Okay, so Mark is farming trees. I might need to start farming trees. But I think a potential waiver would give us the opportunity to keep our trees and keep our beautiful rural Fitchburg alive and active. I don't know where to start with this, but it's a suggestion idea I thought I would just share with you. And thank you for coming here, Jim, and for your service. And of course, you too, Randy. So thank you for what you both do for us.
Yes, it'd be easy to ask that question, so.
I've noticed that there's a lot more truck traffic on the rural roads, and the truck traffic is doing more damage to the rural roads. It is going to cost us a lot more money in upkeep, and I'm wondering if there's anything we can do. Should we be looking at, at roads that just are not built for that and have a weight designation on those? I don't really know. I mean, that's kind of a public works question as to what can be done there. But I think that there are some roads that we would really be better off just not having truck traffic, and people are, people looking for shortcuts to get from here to there rather than traveling on the roads that are built for those purposes.
Now, are you talking the dump trucks? Because of course, there's a lot of dump trucks that are
Yeah, all semi trucks too.
semi, okay.
Yeah. I mean, we're just starting to see them on roads where we have not seen them in the past.
Okay.
I'm seeing more and more cut through, and there's semis that are cutting through.
Yeah.
And if they're questioned, they say, well, we're lost, and maybe they are, but I think they're.
Yeah. They're lost. They're lost once a week or every day. Where are they cutting
I've seen a lot on Irish.
from and to? Yeah, Irish. Yeah.
Seen a lot on Irish.
Where from and to? I mean, how is that a shortcut?
You're bypassing the belt line, so any way you can wiggle up through B and come across that way to get on out the other side and miss the belt line.
All right.
At least that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah. So, and that's the road where I have noticed too, that there's a big increase in semi-truck traffic. And maybe that's one of the roads we could take a look at as just putting a weight limit on it. But there are a lot of rural roads as well that really should have weight limits.
Oh, yeah, the Seminole Highway with the gravel trucks, it's just destroying it. And of course, Whalen. But I don't know where the money's gonna come to take care of the roads, but they're in bad shape in the rural area.
Yeah, that is a concern. One of the projects, being on the Public Works board, is the increase in costs for road materials, sewer pipes. Sometimes there's shortages. Some of our projects are going way over what was budgeted. Fortunately, we do have some American Rescue Act funds that can kind of soften the hurt. But as we move forward, maybe I'm an optimistic or pessimistic person, but I just don't see it getting any better with supply chain and as far as costs coming down. So I think you're right, and this is one of the things that we are really going to have to watch out for with our budgets, because roads are part of your basic services, that the city is supposed to provide. So.
Jim and Randy both, I want to give a shout out to you guys and to our Public Works Department. Public Works on the rural area have been doing a lot of, and they're doing it, they didn't sub it out, they're doing it with their own crew, repairing the shoulders of the blacktop shoulders, reinforcing that where they're starting to break up. And that's being done by Mark Hodel and the Fitchburg team. And I get a real credit to them, and I hope you guys will notice that and acknowledge that, what they're doing. They're doing a great job.
Will do. I'll pass that along.
Good to know, yes.
Just one other thing that I had that I was just kind of came as a surprise a couple of weekends ago. We have Ironman come through every year through Fitchburg, which we expect and we get accustomed to. And all of a sudden, the day before, there's a half Ironman that nobody knew about. There's bikes all over the place. I'm like, what is going on? There was no notice to anyone along the route that was going to happen. We don't know what, if anything, the city had to do with permitting that, and or who's really responsible for notifying the people that are along the route that's happening. But it was a big surprise. And we don't know whether it's going to continue either. I've heard nothing. I don't know why it happened all of a sudden and whether it's happening again next year. So unless you guys know, maybe you can find out and let us know.
Yes, I did get an email from a person who was not happy about the road closures and just the way this thing was communicated. Apparently, I guess they do it over 2 days now, and it will be here next year. I talked to Chief Morales to ask how much input that we have when selecting these routes, and I could tell you from my experience as a captain in Madison, it seems that they never get it right. Every year there's always some type of issue that we have to call back to them at their command posts and see how we can correct things. But Chief Morales did inform me that there will be or was an after action meeting where all the players come in and they start talking about what went right, what went wrong. I have not followed up on him to see if that has happened yet or what he found out about it. But, you know, to be honest with you, I think we'll probably be able to give them a lot of feedback. Now, whether that's going to change things, I really don't know.
Well, the
So-
communication would have been a plus.
Right.
And a little better job of cleanup afterwards would be good too. There are areas where, you know, they come by and they clean up, but they don't really get everything. And I've seen a lot of discarded water bottles and that type of thing. And, you know, the people running this have got to take responsibility and clean that up.
Right. Yeah, I knew it was kind of going to be an issue when I saw a sheriff's deputy at one of the intersections, and he gets out of his vehicle and he has going to one of the, you know, parade route people and had to opening up a piece of paper and they're pointing, and I'm just like, okay, this is the same as usual, you know, where they have to correct something that wasn't anticipated, so.
I was trying to, on Saturday, I knew Sunday was the Ironman, so I was gonna go cut hay on Saturday. And the last thing that they need is a tractor and a haybine in the middle of the half marathon. And I just finally went back home and I'll do it. I did it on Monday. So.
Any other topics that anyone's got?
Yeah, I'm not aware of this, but in the past, we've had some stormwater issues in District 4, and with some of the ditches needing to be regraded and whatnot, and I'm not sure where we are on that, but that was a pretty hot subject about a year ago when we had, you know, excess rains. And I haven't heard anything on it. Maybe somebody here's got something that could pass on to Jim about that, if there is anything.
One thing I've noticed that the water table seems to be down quite a bit, so I think the ground is.
Lake Barney's way down right now.
It's been taking a lot of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, we haven't had the real heavy rains, you know, but.
There again, Public Works is, I'll give a shout out to them. They did some ditching on Burn Road. They did some ditching on Burn Road. I've noticed them around doing, you know, quite a few smaller projects, and they've done a great job. So, but we're in a dry period right now. I mean, we've had adequate rains, the crops look good.
Yeah.
But we haven't had a whole lot of extra, you know, so. And you're right, Lake Barney is way, way down from where it was. So maybe that'll be an opportunity for them to, that project is inching ahead slowly. From what you've
Yeah.
got some of the meetings that I've missed.
Well, and I asked Brad, you know, to see if you could get an update on that too. But as much as, yeah, Lake Barney situation has improved substantially since 2018, it's nowhere near where it was in 2017 before that event. It's a long ways from getting back to its normal situation. So there was supposed to have been a meeting with regard to Lake Barney, I thought, a couple of weeks ago, and that meeting didn't happen, and I'm not sure why. It probably would have been no more than an update, because my understanding is we're really just kind of on hold until the Village of Oregon hopefully gets approved a ditching project south of Netherwood that they would need to do to make all this work, but that would have to get approved by the DNR. And we don't know exactly where that sits. So I don't know, Brad, if you got any sort of an update on that?
I have something that I was going to share under the report from department. It's not much, but I can pull up an email later that I talked to the assistant public works director, I think, at Oregon.
Okay.
And you're right, it is kind of in their court, and they're making progress on it. But I'll pull that up later, and I can share that update then.
Okay.
Later on. So.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Any other topics, Randy?
Well, I think we had that as a 6-month placeholder, did we not? It was on my calendar as well, but there was no information coming back from the Director of Public Works. And, because remember, we were on a conversation, or we had a meeting back in the spring.
Right.
And I think the committee threw out a date, if there was progress being made, but I did not see an invite as well.
No, there was never an invite for
Yeah.
it, so it just, But so I don't know when the next meeting is going to be, or whether there's one scheduled, or if there's really even anything to talk about. But
Yeah.
when we get to Brad's report, we can
Yeah, right.
an update on that. Okay. Any other just general topics for the rural area, or do we ready to?
There's one thing that I've wondered about. Harvest is right around the corner. And we're going to have a lot of semi-traffic, which we all know, and we accept that. Weight limits on those trucks are usually waived under state weight laws during that period of time. But I just think that maybe this committee could do this, or one of you two alters. But I think it would be good to have a article in the Fitchburg Star talking about the harvest and talking about road safety, because the amount of equipment that is on the road during that period of time is really something. A lot of people that don't understand how fast a combine's going down the road or a tractor's going down the road, they underestimate it, and it gets to be very dangerous. So I just would like, as long as we're talking about something we might be able to do, I would like to see that happen again. Or I think we did it 2 or 3 years ago, but I would certainly think that either coming from the altars or coming from this committee.
And Roger, when you and I met with Chief Morales
Yeah,
at my place,
yep,
we did discuss that.
Yeah.
And I know he's on board with
yeah,
whatever we can do to help with the safety part of it.
yeah. But that's right around the corner. I mean, we're going to start combining beans in about another 25 days or so,
I think it'll be less than that.
I know.
Quick comment, just going to piggyback on that idea, sort of. I think in the rural area, we're like grossly underserved by our law enforcement, and I know that I think we're just short-staffed. But I just want to throw that plug out there that the rural area, I think I can speak for all of these guys, that we just don't see a police officer. And we have issues in the rural area. We obviously have some illegal truck traffic. We have people just use our back roads to fly. And so, yeah, we have some issues that could definitely use some police presence where we all live in the rural area, so.
I can speak a little bit to that. Chief Morales is well aware of that. And as you know, he has met with some of the ag landowners. Personally, he's making a real attempt to do this. And we just need to keep the pedal on the accelerator on that subject. I know that last I talked to him, he was certainly going to talk to his staff and to his patrolmen about the rural area and that issue.
Just to piggyback onto that quickly too, I think Chief Morales is doing a beautiful job.
Yeah.
He's amazing. We love him in the rural area too. He just doesn't have the resources. So I'm just saying that off the cuff, he's just lacking bodies. If it was up to Chief Morales, he'd probably have a couple men and women out there on our rural roads, because he took the effort to meet with majority of us, and he recognizes that rural Fitchburg is to be valued. And I think if he had the resources, he would have people out there for us.
Well, even if there would be some kind of access to some signs, or more like flashing lights or something, that when some fields are being harvested, that they could put up some temporary thing to at least get the traffic to, pay attention to that there's heavy equipment in the area. I don't know if there's anything like that, but it sure seems like right during some of the worst times of the day is when people, they're anxious to get home or get to work, and they all of a sudden they're surprised by seeing a semi coming out of a field or something.
I talked to Chief Morales about that. Also talked to some landowners about it. If they would what they would do if they were offered a sign, you know, one of these teepee-type signs that you put along the road. And so they could put those signs up at the entrance of an exit of the place where they come in and out of the fields. They need to be movable because they move from field to field.
Right.
But if you would have like 100 yards away, if the city would offer them this type of a safety device, I think that would go a long ways, because and the landowners that I talk to, you know, yeah, they would use them.
Well, just the flashing caution lights have a lot, you know, like you say, 100 yards or so before a field entrance.
Yeah.
That gets somebody's attention.
Well,
Or it certainly should. It isn't going to get everybody's
you know,
attention.
you've all seen the signs, you know, truck entrance,
Yeah.
you know, or
Well, like
you
Metro
could
Grove
say
puts out.
tractor entrance. That would even make more of an impact of what they're seeing. And I just know that the safety is so important. But as you all know, when a semi or a tractor with a grain cart on it pulls out, it's got to make a wide turn. It has to jump over into another lane. You've got cars that'll come upon them real fast. And if there's some sort of a warning sign, not only is it that way for safety, but I'm sure insurance-wise, it's a good deal too. Maybe it'd be something you guys could see if the city would participate.
Let's back up here, because, you know, a number of months ago, after the Four Winds event, I put the chief of police in touch with you, Roger, and you went out and pulled a number of landowners together in the rural area. That was a good meeting, correct, with the chief?
Yeah.
Can you go,
100%.
so do you have a conversation with him did you have a conversation with him on the same subject, or
On
are
this
you,
sub- on
yeah,
this
are you
sub-
asking us to
No,
go back to
we
this?
had we had a discussion on it, and we did have a discussion on it. But I think it might be good to, you know, keep that idea going through both of you for representing District 4.
Yeah,
Is what I'm saying.
right.
Any help from everybody, and for the public out there that's viewing this, you know, be aware, we're coming on harvest time, and you're going to see some of the stuff on the roads that are going to be going at a slower speed. So, you know, it's for everybody's safety.
Any other topics? Okay. All right, let's move on to discussion and consideration of Fitchburg Farmland Preservation Plan updates. Jim, thanks for joining us. If you want to join us for the rest, you're welcome to, but that's all right. Thanks for being here.
Try to get some answers to some of that.
Great.
A lot of people are still around.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bethany.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Brad, you want to take this one?
Yeah, all right, thank you. So I included in the packets a memo kind of giving some background and overview on the Farmland Preservation Plan update. I'll try to briefly overview it, high-level overview quick, and then start talking about the map and kind of what we're proposing for this year. So Dane County is currently in the process of updating their Farmland Preservation Plan. By state statute, counties, in order to participate in the state farmland preservation program, counties need a what's the word? I'm blanking on it. A certified farmland preservation plan. So that was last certified in 2012. In the current version of the county's plan, the city of Fitchburg did their own plan, and it was included as a chapter in Dane County's plan. So it was included in that certification. We're in the process of doing that update. Dane County's in the process of doing that update, and I think because it's the county is the one that has the certification required. I think the big part that we need to offer to ensure that it is accurate is the farmland preservation plan map that will go in Dane County's plan. So that's why we have that map on the agenda. And I guess just to back up a little bit, the proposal or the staff proposal that we're putting forward for this, the 10-year certification here, now that it's coming due, is to use Dane County's plan this round instead of kind of creating our own plan and attaching it to the Dane County plan and having it certified that way is what we're proposing due to the timeline and staffing and things like that. And the fact that a lot of the data in the Fitchburg plan is county level data, so that Dane County will be updating that data in their plan. And the fact that we developed the agricultural opportunities plan in 2017, and Deanna and I have been discussing looking at updating that in probably 2024, and we could incorporate a lot of what would go into a farmland preservation plan in that update. So for those reasons, we're proposing to concentrate on the mapping portion of Dane County's plan, making sure that we get any map updates that are needed to them for this round, and then we can always make an amendment or ask them to do an amendment to their plan if there's anything we need to get in there later. So did anybody have any questions on kind of the background and the proposed approach that we were putting forward for this?
Am I correct that we really have no way of knowing whether we have people in Fitchburg that are taking advantage of the tax break, or do we know?
That is my understanding as well. I've been looking to see if there's any way to know how many credits are being taken advantage of, and I don't think there are like city level data as far as I know. I haven't been able to find any. I know that Dane County, countywide, it has, I think it was, I probably shouldn't even say the number because I don't know if I'm remembering it correctly, but I think it was something like $960 million of tax credits claimed countywide.
So how do they know that? I mean, these are state tax credits, correct?
Yeah.
So it would be something that people would file with their state tax returns.
Yeah.
How would the county know whether or not people had done that? How might we know then?
I could ask the county planner that's working on the farmland preservation update. I mean, that might be something that I could reach out to him and see if he knows the answer to that. So I don't know off.
Because if they have that information, you would think that there would be some way that we could get it for the city.
The county part of it, I think, per county, would be pretty easy. Township or city, in our case, would be a lot tougher.
So do you have to identify the county that you're in when you?
You do.
But not the municipality.
I think you do acknowledge the municipality, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how that's tracked, but the county is tracked. I know that.
Yeah.
And I know we use it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's several farmers in the city of Fitchburg that do.
Okay, so
Landowners.
to the best of your knowledge, there are people utilizing this. Okay, good. That's good to know.
But I mean, it's.
Then how many, it doesn't really matter as long as, right, as long as someone's using it. Otherwise, it's maybe a lot of work for nothing because it's not a huge tax break.
No,
But if people are using it, great.
It was in here what it was per.
Yeah, it's $750 an acre.
Right.
So
right.
it's not huge, but
Right.
anything helps.
Yep. Okay.
It's basically landowners. Now, if you're managing if you're renting your land out, I don't think that qualifies. But if you're an operator, if you're operating, or at least a portion of your land, then it does.
Okay. So your recommendation is that we just let the county handle this and not to try to address it at a city level?
For the most
Other
part,
than the
yeah.
maps.
Other than the maps, yeah. I mean, the city doesn't need a certified plan in order to participate in the program, and through this method, we can kind of decouple our planning needs from the certification timeline and the certification requirements. We can let the county handle that, and then when we update the opportunities in agriculture plan, we can focus on the things that I guess the city feels are important to us. So that was kind of the thinking. And then in some way, probably adopting the Dane County plan just to show that there is support for like that map, the farmland preservations areas that are shown on the Dane County map are like, there's agreement here that those are the policy that we want, so.
So will, if we go that route, then does that map come back to this body prior to going through the approval process?
Fred, I think it has to.
Yeah, we were thinking it would.
I don't think it does.
How we do that, I guess, my thinking was we discuss it today. If there's any changes that we need to make, we would then bring that back through for our approval at a future meeting. I don't.
Do you have the
you
map?
a different idea? Chime in.
Yeah,
Deanna.
I do. I think you all have an adopted farmland preservation plan that you have adopted, that council has adopted, that is recognized by the state. Because what happened, of course, Fitchburg's plan was adopted by the county and then recognized by the state. So I think that it's appropriate that, unless you all determine that you don't want to have any say and that, I think it's appropriate that you all adopt the Dane County Farmland Preservation Plan.
Okay.
Is this map that we're looking at, is that what's adopted right now?
That's what we have been working on as staff. We've taken Dane County's information, their map, their data, and made updates and changes based on our knowledge. So, for example, all Highfield Reserve, we needed to take that out of the farmland preservation area. All the Fahey land.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so,
You're taking it all out, or the
no,
piece that's
just
being developed?
yes,
From the power lines north?
From the power lines north, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So there was some catches like that we did to make some updates into the county's farmland preservation plan. But yes, that's what you're looking at in terms of,
And there's another one with the Hartung area.
well, yes. Hartung, was Hartung in the farmland preservation? Because that is in the urban service area,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
think.
I don't know if it was.
yeah.
It was at
I-
one
No,
time.
I'm sure it
it
was at one time, but Hartung is in the urban service area.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, and I can kind of go through some of the changes that we made to this from Dane County's initial. So Dane County did an initial pass over the whole county. And the colors don't really show up on
No,
the screen, so,
it's almost in,
yeah.
if you have a copy we could pass through and look at, would be helpful, because that's pretty hard to read.
Yeah.
Is the blue line, the blue lines on here, are those the revised areas that you're thinking about?
No,
no,
those are the
I'll go make some
identified,
copies.
okay, that sounds good. Those are the identified future urban development areas, I think is what they were called. Those are in the comprehensive plan as like future development outside of the urban service area. So that we used as an overlay to kind of see where some of that was, but I think so the farmland preservation plan is looking out, I think 15 to 20 years. I think the state requirement is 15, but Dane County does 20, so it shouldn't be in there if we're thinking it would be developed in 20 years.
Your notes say 15.
Yeah, so that's the state requirements. Dane County, the one that the plan that, the public hearing draft that we also included that, of the section 1, volume 1 that they released last week, I think it was. So we included that in the packet too. I think the criteria that they used to come up with their first pass was 20 years, based on adopted comprehensive plans and things like that. So that's what the blue boundary shown on here is.
And the 15 years is for the tax break, correct?
I
So
think,
if it
yeah.
comes out of ag within 15 years, then those taxes, the tax breaks get paid back or something?
Something like that.
So that's really what we want to avoid, is anything that's going to be developed next 15 years. And so we've got some neighborhood plans that include some of this, yet I still see them as being in,
Eligible.
yeah.
Yeah, and that was something that we've talked about a bit. We were kind of on the thinking that waiting to do the neighborhood plan might be good because that plan might identify that the timeline is 15 years or more out. It might identify that it's sooner, and if that is the case, we can ask the county. The county updates this map every year, so we have future opportunities, even outside of a 10-year certification, to make changes to the map if necessary. If we complete the Greenfield neighborhood plan and I guess the future development in what is currently farmland is expected sooner than the 15 years, then we could ask that amendment to be included in a future, annual map amendment for the counties.
But what are the ramifications of that then for the landowner? If they have been taking a tax break, yet within 15 years, it gets developed?
I would have to look into that. The ramifications are if we take it out now, they would lose eligibility for the tax credit,
Right.
even prior, if it doesn't develop for 10, 15 years, they'd lose eligibility for that tax credit, if now, because it has to be in that ag preservation area to be eligible for the tax credits. I'm not sure what the ramifications are. I'll have to look into it. If it ends up being taken out of an ag preservation area, in 2 years or in 3 years prior to development, so.
Well, I think the knowledge that the landowner needs to know that, because then they can make the developer pay that.
Yeah.
So it doesn't become a burden. So if you don't know, it could become a burden on the landowner. But if you know that going in, then you make sure that that burden is on the development or the development side. So knowledge is pretty critical.
Yeah, and so I'll note too that this map shown, I compared it to the map that was adopted in 2014 from our farmland preservation plan, and that was kind of what I was using as the basis. I wanted to make as minimal changes as possible compared to that 2014 map. And there are very few changes outside of the changes to the urban service area. There were a few parcels that Dane County's initial pass had out of the farmland preservation area, such as these 3 up here that we're proposing to put back in because they are zoned exclusive ag, which is the zoning.
Who's the owner?
I can't remember off the top of my head,
Okay.
but the parcels all around it are Dane County owned, I believe.
Okay.
So,
So it must be on the north end or the east end?
so it's on the north side of East Clayton Road, east of the Dane County owned parcels.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
That's be the northeast side.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, so those are zoned exclusive ag, and there were a few other ones in here that I believe have permanent conservation easements that.
The owner and the operator of those parcels, I believe, are the Uphoff Farm, and they farm.
That sounds right.
They farm in the town of Dunn, but they own and farm land in the city of Fitchburg. And, they certainly, they do use those tax credits.
Yeah. So those are 3 parcels that we caught that we're proposing to put back in.
He would, yeah.
And then most of the other changes, as I noted, were, this area of the urban service boundary expanded, so that parcel we have to remove.
That's the only one.
And,
That's by Fay.
yeah, yep.
That's the Fay parcel.
And then these were in for some reason, like this, I think this is Burn Park, this is a city park.
That's
That
McGaw
was-
Park.
Yeah, McGaw Park. That one was in the farmland preservation area, but it doesn't need to be. Nobody's claiming tax credits on that. And then this area, now that it's all platted, had to come out as well. There were a few parcels that were changed, and I can pass this around before we part, but I have a PDF here that I was identifying what has changed from the 2014 map. And there's a handful of parcels, like small parcels throughout kind of this area, probably it looks like 4, 5, 6 parcels across here that I noticed that were in our 2014 plan that were not in the Dane County's first pass, but they were all small parcels that were not zoned, they were zoned rural residential or rural low density, so they weren't eligible anyway. So we left those as is, but I guess from the 2014 plan, those are essentially the changes, so they're pretty minimal changes that we're proposing here. Yeah, so.
All right, no, I understand that, so, yeah, the Uphoff family farms a lot in there, and they own and operate, so they would qualify for the tax credits.
Any other questions or feedback on the map? Anything you see that?
The future areas, and I can't see that map hardly
Maybe
at all.
let me try
Why are
a
these,
different map, see if the colors might show up.
why are
better.
these not,
Okay, this one shows, the colors are a little different at least. So this kind of, what's showing up as light on here are the farmland preservation areas, and then these darker colors are not. And Dane County's map breaks it down into two categories: farmland preservation and non-farm planning area. So those are the two categories here. And yeah, so this will be.
so Brad, there are some, just looking at this, there are a lot of 40-acre parcels
Yes.
that are in agriculture, that are in the rural area, that are not in any sort of a neighborhood plan for development.
Yeah.
Yet they're not ag land preservation. And as I look at these, I don't understand why.
Yeah, and so this was another topic that if it came up, there's a couple ways we can approach this. Those were identified as non-certified farmland preservation areas in the last plan. And I don't have the background on why they were differentiated. There might be something in the DAT cap requirements that prevents those from being in the certified zoning district, but those are zoned agriculture, transitional agriculture. That's in our transitional agriculture zone.
Oh, those are all AT.
Yeah,
Got it, okay.
Which
So-
parcels were
It-
those?
yeah.
People had an opportunity to rezone from AT to AX if they wanted to, and a bunch of people didn't want to do that.
Okay.
So that, and they knew that they wouldn't be able to get the tax breaks if they didn't do it. So that was their decision. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Which parcels are you?
Well, any of them,
Well, I mean, there's,
a whole bunch of them.
you know, but there's three of them right around Country Vineyard. There's a whole bunch of them in the southeast area. There's some along Fish Hatchery Road, across from Country Vineyard also.
Yeah.
It's
don't know.
kind of the lighter pink.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so those could be added to the farmland preservation area for this planning purpose.
But not if they're
without any
AT.
You gotta
effect.
get them rezoned.
They would still not be eligible for the tax credits because it's zoned AT.
Right.
But it wouldn't, it's basically a matter of how the map looks at this point. Because of the AT zoning, they wouldn't be eligible even if we added them. But it wouldn't negatively impact the map, shouldn't negatively impact the map either if they were identified as agricultural preservation, so. That's why, I guess, for the kind of in the vein of making minimal changes from 2014, that's why we came in with it this way, but.
so if they were shown as ag preservation instead of not being shown as that, but people weren't eligible for the tax breaks because it's AT, they would have no future ramifications if for some reason that was developed. The fact that it was in the plan and then was taken out, or would they?
It maybe would mean that we should amend the plan, because that it does become part of the county comp plan once this is adopted by the county. So it does possibly add an additional step of needing to amend that plan before it's developed. Amending the map to show it's not agricultural preservation anymore, but.
Yeah. But there really isn't any practical point in going one way versus the other.
Right.
With regard to those AT parcels.
Right.
Okay. So the areas that have been added, that would be where Edgewood College is putting in their facility.
Right. That 40 acres.
Yep, can you kind of go through the other ones that have been taken out then?
Yeah, relative to the 2014 plan?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we've got this this narrow parcel right here, actually, let me zoom in because that's not.
Whereabouts?
There. So this narrow parcel right here, that was identified as farmland preservation in our 2014 plan, but not in Dane County's initial go. I left it as is because it's,
I don't know which piece you're referring to. You don't have a pointer that you can use, so it's hard to.
see if it highlights it. It's not highlighting it.
Could be this piece here.
Yeah, just that small, real small one on the bottom there, right off of Adams Road.
Well, right where the AD is in the Adams?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
So that narrow one, not that whole big parcel, but
No.
this really narrow, kind of like, yeah,
Why would you-
right off of Adams, that was in there,
Okay.
in the 2014 plan. It was not in Dane County's first go that they released in March, so I left it out just because it's zoned RL, it's not eligible anyway, and it's a very small
Okay.
parcel, so.
Yep.
That was one. This one was one as well.
What do you,
I can't
Pointing
see
at
it.
it.
Well, there it is.
I'm
Oh.
trying to put the mouse pointer on it, it's
oh,
It's
that's
also
too
on,
small.
on
It's
the
too
south
small
side of
also.
Adams. Yep, and that's zoned RR, so,
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
let's see. The next two parcels that were not included in this are these two right here. So this is off of, the road labels are not showing up.
Well, the small ones like that, I don't think are probably that relevant.
You're right, and that's pretty much, that's all there were.
Oh, okay.
that
So
were in
so as
here.
far as the larger ones, there was the Edgewood Athletic Fields location. And what else that was material?
So it was,
What about Fayette area?
The Fay
These-
area? Okay.
yeah, all of them were ones that came into the urban service area.
Yeah.
So
the Fayette.
up there by the Badger State Trail, this,
Yep, that would be Edgewood.
this,
And, yeah, you're at Fahey, but. you're-
Okay.
So, yes, the two big areas were the Fahey lands that we platted as Highfield Reserve and then the Edgewood College
Okay.
ones right there at Lacey and Seminole.
And what about the parcel that Oregon was looking at for the schools? Is that the one that's already in the kind of the pinkish orange? Does that not include the land south of that, to the east of 14?
I can't quite get that.
Ed, I'm not really sure which parcel that they've been looking at.
They own, can you see where the US Highway 14,
Is that the Schuster, right by Schuster?
south of Schuster Road?
Okay, that's the Oregon plot then,
Okay, south of Schuster Road,
yeah.
where it says US Highway 14 there's a parcel right in there that was Mary Jo Leese's. And then the other parcel was, I don't know who the owner was anymore. It was, we always called it the old Weaver parcel, but, the school district bought some of that land, quite a bit of it, actually.
Okay,
The-
so the land that the
the
school
lease
district
land?
bought has been taken out then, or isn't
Oh.
in ag preservation?
It's in the
Okay,
color.
I see.
It's in the pink. So the green below that
I thought that's
is,
where it was.
is not part of the Oregon school plan, or is it?
Evidently,
You know, you're,
wait a minute, no, that's on the other, that's on the east side of
This
14
one-
going.
These two
towards-
parcels.
going-
Yeah, on the east
So-
side of
Yeah,
14.
but on the left
it
side?
looks like the Oregon school lands are still in the farmland.
Right, yeah.
As they should be.
No,
Okay,
They should be?
they should be in the farm,
It's agricultural land.
Well, yeah,
yeah,
but
but it's rezoned. I mean, didn't we do that and change the comprehensive plan for that?
we did change the comprehensive plan, so
There were
they,
two comprehensive
they
plans, there was
could,
Edgewood and Oregon.
yeah, so they could do something there.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong.
oh, yeah, the future land use looks
Yeah.
like they,
Yeah,
that's a weird one.
Correct me if I'm
I
wrong.
didn't catch that one.
Let me ask the question, what can they do with it?
They could put a school on it.
Yeah, we took it and put it in the comprehensive plan.
Yes, you're
So
right.
they could do something with it.
Yes.
My
It's-
understanding was that it can be part of that. It can be used for athletic fields. But they were not asking for that to be in the building project.
Well, it wouldn't make any difference whether it's athletic fields or buildings.
Yes, well,
Either way, it's coming out of agriculture.
It's coming out of agriculture.
I think you're right.
but it's going into open space. It stays in open space.
Yeah,
It-
you're right.
In the comprehensive plan that was last adopted, it's governmental institutional land use.
Yep, yep.
So we probably should pull it out
Right.
of farmland
It's
pres.
They can't take the,
considered
ta-
That was
if
done
they
at the
own
same
it,
time Edgewood came out.
if they own it, they can't take the tax break anyhow.
Right,
No.
and the school district isn't gonna take that.
Okay, so let's make that adjustment to the map, okay.
Okay.
So I guess the question is that, are there other adjustments that we want, or areas that we want to talk about, that we're concerned about one way or the other? Because I don't know that we are going to get another kick at that, because we're trying to get this done by the end of October, are we not?
Yes, and ideally getting the changes to Dane County prior to their public hearing so that
Yep.
they can have the fully updated map.
And I don't know that we necessarily have an Ag and Rural meeting in October.
You do.
We do?
Because Mary Jo Lease, that trust is going to come for a CSM. So we will do, you all.
Oh, so we will have a meeting then.
We will.
So we-
Yeah, either way, you
So
are
we
going
could
to.
address and take an advisory vote on this map at that meeting. Okay.
One other area,
Is that soon enough if it has to be done by the end of October?
Yeah, because I think it'll go into Plan Commission the same night,
It would go in.
and then it'll go to council the following week, right? So that should be fine.
But for the county?
Yeah,
And
because we'll have it done by the end of October.
and we could send the county the map as it exists, and if there's any changes, we can alert them to that. Any changes that come through that process, we can alert them to that, so.
do we want to be proactive? Yeah, where the Edgewood property is, and then there's the Richardson farm right there. Is that something that we should take out of the program at this time? Or is that too
Yeah.
premature?
I've thought a little bit about that. We are scheduled to start doing RFP for the South Stoner Prairie Neighborhood Plan. And by the time all that gears up and goes through, I mean, whoever's in, some of those lands on the Richardson property, I think they're gonna come for conditional use for quarry on that, some of those lands.
That's the plan.
Yeah, I think, and I think the way that it's shown right there for right now, I think it's okay.
Okay, so we don't need to be taking it out on a maybe.
I think it will come out at some point.
Yeah.
But, I mean, until we get the neighborhood plan done, and
Okay.
I think it can.
Well, and
If it doesn't come out
quarry, it's
now,
gonna
can
be a
you
20-year quarry
can you amend
operation.
it?
Well, I don't know about
This
the.
be amended at any point in time?
Planning on.
Yes,
know.
it can,
what she said.
but all that it would really mean is, once we rezone it, it's not gonna be eligible for the tax
Exactly.
credits
Okay.
anymore.
That answers that.
Oh, okay, so it automatically happens.
Yeah.
It's pulled out.
So-
Just another way of doing it.
So,
Yeah.
but if it's there right now, whoever has at least parts of those lands technically could, for the next year or two, take those credits.
And I
Is-
think that's
is-
all rented land, so it probably doesn't qualify.
Well, then I guess we could just take it out.
Yeah, so, well, we'll leave it alone for now, so, in case something changes, so.
I like to be proactive.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, you know what, Roger, we can do that.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right, go ahead and pull those out.
yeah, I agree too. It's, we
Yeah.
are pretty certain that something's going to happen within the next 15 years, so therefore it shouldn't be in the plan. Yeah. Any other areas like that?
Well, as long as we're on the topic and being consistent, Mayor does want us to proceed with an RFP for doing the neighborhood plan for Greenfield, too. So, so we would be doing at least right now, the plan is for the planning department to start the process for a neighborhood plan for Greenfield, which you can see in the middle here, and then also for South Stoner Prairie. So Greenfield is one of that future land use map right there. You can see it. So at this particular point, the process would be about a year to do the neighborhood plans. And then before anything could happen, we would have to request at least some portion, before any development could happen, an expansion of the urban service area. I think things are much more likely to move a lot quicker on South Stoner Prairie than Greenfield. But our directives currently are South Stoner Prairie and Greenfield.
Just an FYI, as you go forward in the planning, and you, Deanna, you and I have talked about that. The Greenfield water system was put in as a restricted system. So just so as you do your planning, understand that there's not enough pipe size. There was a 1 or 2% growth when we put that in. And we put that in only because the DNR mandated it. Mm-hmm. And we specifically, because of the costs, and that the neighborhood wanted to restrict growth, they put a reduced pipe size. Now, it's gotten better since they've tied it into the main system as far as flow, but understand that it's a reduced pipe size. So when you're planning that, we just talked a while back about infrastructure and the costs. Understand that whole thing would have to be rebuilt. And that may have a big factor on whether that neighborhood wants to see anything in it, because you're looking at huge costs.
Yep.
Yeah, so given that, I don't see any reason to treat that any differently than it is right now. Leave
just
that
an FYI.
leave that in the preservation plan.
Just an FYI.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else that we're aware of that could develop within the next 15 years, or that is likely to? That is currently green on this map? Nope.
Not that I am aware of.
Okay. So, this isn't an action item tonight, but I think it would be good to just have some general consensus from the commission with regard to staff's recommendation to just go with a county plan on that and not have us update our plan at this time. Is there anyone that objects to staff's recommendation on that?
I'm fine with that.
We're good on that? Okay, I don't think we need a vote on that. When the map comes back, we'll take a vote on that at that time in October.
Sounds good.
Any other discussion on this item? Okay, I think there were a lot of things when I went through this that I thought we really need to focus on in the plan. But I think that's the idea. We're not gonna do that now. We'll take that up as we are actually updating the plan. We've got more time to do that.
Right, that was the thought.
Yep. Because a lot of what we did, we have things that haven't been addressed or things that are out of date.
Yeah.
When's our next update to the plan
Did you say that's 2 years?
Yeah, so the Opportunities in Agriculture plan was scheduled for at least every 10-year update, so that would be 2027, but we've been talking about probably asking to do it or looking to do it in 2024 was what we were thinking, so.
Okay,
begin the process,
Yeah.
okay.
which would maybe put you done by 2026.
We're much more efficient than that, Mark.
Okay.
Probably not.
Anything else then on this item? Nope, hearing nothing, let's move on to the report from department.
And I will, just give me 1 minute, and I will provide a brief update on Lake Barney. So from our staff, basically saying that they're waiting on the Village of Oregon bottlenecks need to be addressed before we can move ahead with anything on the Fitchburg side. And from the village side, their update is that they're moving forward. They have, the plans that they have plans to install the stormwater relief system through Lerner Conservation Park and to Cusick Parkway. And they have it in the preliminary design and permitting phase right now. So they have somebody doing the design and wetland permitting work right now. And they have some improvements to it in their CIP, but not anything immediate, so.
So they're working on the design and the permitting.
Yeah,
So wouldn't they need to have the design done before they did the permitting?
I'm not sure I'm not sure what the phasing of that is for
Yeah, I think
preliminary design and
it
permitting.
would be
but-
good for us to get some sort of a rough timeline from them. What do they have to do and when? I mean, in other words, if there is additional design work that they have to do before they can get the permitting, that would be good to know. My understanding is it was the permitting itself that's the holdup. But if they can't do the permitting until they do the design work, how long is it going to be before we can address the situation and try to get a fix for it? And that's what I think a lot, people that are impacted in the rural area would like to know, because as we discussed before, the situation with Lake Barney is a lot better now than it was, but it's nowhere near what it's supposed to be. And if you had a couple of big events, we're right back to where we were. And that can affect us, and that can affect the Village of Oregon very negatively. If on top of that, if the 2018 event that occurred in Fitchburg had been the amount of rain that occurred in Middleton, I probably would have had a problem, a big problem, in the Village of Oregon.
You were
A
correct.
big problem.
And that was pretty clearly stated as we went through that meeting.
Yeah. So I don't think we should be getting too comfortable with where Lake Barney and the water tables are right now, because that could change very quickly. It may or may not, but the point is, let's, if there's a fix here, let's get it moving and get it approved. And we on our end would like to know, I think that the village has been very diligent in their efforts. I don't question that at all. I'm just asking, because I think we'd like to know, where are we at with this timeline? Yeah,
Good point.
Yeah, I can follow up on that.
great.
Please.
Okay, let's put that on as a topic for discussion at the
Next month.
October meeting then. Yeah. Jim, did you get any information for us that you want to share?
Sure, let me pull up the email. Okay, so TID number 6, which is the target, that has closed. So still figuring out the final numbers and everything else like that. TID number 4, that's City Hall and everything out to the highway. That will close in the first quarter of 2023. So again, got to get the final audit. And just so you know, some of the money that comes out of both of these has to go to Affordable Housing Fund because of the TID. So that's what I found out.
Right, so it's 1 year's worth of proceeds that we can take and put into that fund. We don't have to do that. We can choose to do that, right? And I think that's what we've chosen to do.
What, with the affordable housing?
Yeah.
When you close the TID, a certain amount do have to go into affordable housing fund.
Is that mandated?
I don't think so.
No, I don't
think
believe
it's
that's
an option.
mandated. I believe that's the direction that we're taking.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's, the mayor and council have expressed that thought.
So if that's the direction that we're going, then we're about a year away on TID 6 and TID 4 from having additional revenue, substantial additional revenue coming into the city, right?
Based on what you're describing, yeah.
Yeah, that's another misty question.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course. But, with that money, it's like one-time money. And that's what she
Right.
made sure to tell us, is that it's only one-time money. So you spend it and that's it. It's not for like the ongoing expenses that will come, if you.
Well,
But the money from going forward, once it's closed, my understanding is the money then would go back to the general fund.
every year. Yeah.
Every year.
Every year going forward.
Yeah, and it'll go to the school
Right,
districts.
that-
It'll get
Correct.
spread like it normally would be. So
Yeah.
that is why the city of Verona is awash in cash right now, because the TID that they did for Epic closed,
Yeah.
right? So that's the whole point. As these TIDs close and we stop pulling the money out
Yeah.
for affordable housing, which we can only do for 1 year, then they're closed, and then the revenue's coming in.
Right, that's
Right.
what, she mentioned that.
Exactly.
Then the levy gets extended,
Yeah.
because of the closure.
Yeah.
So that money, you will have that,
You will see some.
because of the expansion of the levy.
And I think that goes back to your question. Was that not your original question?
Yeah,
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
that start to alleviate some of the pressure
Exactly.
that we've
But it's
got?
the one-time,
We hope.
one-time dollars. It's not an ongoing. It's
Correct.
one time, and mayor, council have expressed an interest in using it for affordable housing.
That 1 year.
That 1 year.
But every year after that,
Every
that
year
revenue's
after that
coming
goes
in.
back, from my understanding, to the general fund,
Yeah,
or into.
right. So we got to crimp and save until 2024, and then we can solve all our problems, right?
Well,
Maybe.
We don't know. That's why we asked you.
there's challenges every year.
Yes, sir.
I'll leave it at that because I guess I'm more pessimistic than others, when it comes to
Eventually.
spending money or how much money we're going to have. That's just my
there are-
makeup.
But understand, in the rural areas where we took this huge hit, that base has risen, and you're never going to go backwards on that. So that huge hit, in my case, how it went up that much. Amy said, what percent? 200%. That's your new baseline.
Correct.
So you're never going to get back to where you were. So we have to be diligent all the time.
Right. I agree with that.
Anything else for the staff report?
Nothing for me.
Okay. Any announcements? Everyone plan on being here for the October meeting?
What's the date?
It'll be the third Tuesday, whatever that is.
17th, it looks like to me. No, I'm sorry, October, yeah. October 17th would be 18th.
It would be the 18th. So we hope that we see you here on October 18th.
10:18, 4 o'clock, next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.